video, we are going to look at the basics of flipping. The first thing we're going to talk about is the materials that you are going to need in order to flip your classroom. The first one you're going to need is a recording device. The best method that I have found is using my iPad. I have a tripod set up to it, and I just kind of have it all set up nice and neat. You can also use a flip cam. Cell phone is just as easy. The Elmo has a program that you can actually turn and record yourself as well. So there's a bunch of different techniques that you can use to record yourself. The second thing you're going to need is some whiteboards. If you go to Lowe's or Home Depot, you can actually go and get like a large board, I don't know the dimensions, and have it cut down into 6 different boards. So they should look like this. I got 6 of them. They work just fine. I really like the size of the board because it's pretty easy to see and still gives me a decent amount of space to write out math problems or anything like that I might need. The last thing that you're going to need is a tripod. It's not necessary that you have a tripod. Like right now mine is on a tripod, so it's a little bit easier. I have set it up leaning against some books when I didn't have my tripod because I didn't really want to spend the money on it. I didn't know if I was going to like it very much. You can also have a person hold it. That takes a little bit more work for the other person. Propping it up against something is another option if you don't want to get the tripod to see how it goes. I got the tripod off of Amazon, and it was about $20-25. It came in a little box, pretty easy to move around, pretty easy to set up and take down. The way that I just did that's kind of how I do throughout my videos. So I do one problem, or I do one set of notes, or I do some vocabulary, and then I move the whiteboard, and I have my next kind of page or slide, whatever you want to call it. So that's the easiest way to do it instead of having to rewrite it or move or anything like that. Taking the whiteboard and just moving it. The second thing for flipping your classroom is obviously to create your videos. The most important thing that I have found is that you use your face and your voice. When the kids are in your class, they're going to hear it the way you say it. A lot of people have talked about Khan Academy. They've seen other videos that could be used from other teachers. Yes, that is great, but it's not you. Your teachers or your students know you as their teacher. They know your face. They know your voice. They know the way that you explain things to them. Giving them another person to try and figure out doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It also gives them some sort of connection to what you are saying. The second thing that's important is your time frame. I try and limit mine to 10 to 12 minutes. Sometimes with my higher level students, my Math 1 kids, I do give it sometimes a 15-minute video if I go just a little bit over and I can't really trim it down. But again, trying to keep it in a shorter time frame is a lot easier for the kids to get through and kind of make sure they actually pay attention throughout the whole video. The third thing is making sure that you do one take and one take only. If you have the announcements go off, if someone calls your room, if someone walks into your room, pause, go through it, say goodbye, and keep on going. It actually kind of livens your videos up, and the kids like it a little bit because they're like, do you remember last night on the video when you... So it keeps them a little bit interested. So don't worry so much about interruptions. Don't try and make everything so perfect. That's not how it would go in class. You know, you'd get interrupted 3 times by that phone ringing. So it's not how it's going to go. Just make sure you say what you need to say, get through your notes, and move on. This is more, not really anything special, but to do a flipped video, you don't need special materials. You don't need flipped notes. You need notes. You just put them in a different way. I use all of my same foldables this year as I did 2 years ago. I use all of my same notes. I use a lot of my same practice problems. I just put them in a way that I can either put it on the board, project it on my smart board, and go through it that way. It's not a big deal to try and change your materials. So don't think that you need to go through and actually find brand new materials in order to flip your classroom. The materials you have right now are good materials. You just using them in a different way instead of showing them to your class over and over and over again, doing the same lesson 5 times. You're just going to do it once, and everyone's going to watch it. The third and final thing is what you expect of your students. If this doesn't take place, it does take away from your flipped classroom because students don't know what to do with the videos that they watch. They don't know what to do with the notes that they take. So before you say, go home and watch this video, do one in class. Show them what you want. Show them how you want them to pause. Show them how you want them to, where you want them to write it in their interactive notebook or in their Cornell notes. Make sure you stop and say, this is how I want this done. These are the expectations. If you follow these expectations, you'll get them done, you'll get a good grade. When you do that, again, make sure that you show them where to complete their notes. You make sure that if you answer any of their questions, you make sure that they, at the beginning of a lot of my videos or in between a lot of my video slides, I say, if you need any of these, please make sure to stop, pause the video, and write down all the notes that you need. So just making sure that your students know what is expected of them as they do their flipped videos at home. So doing one in class first together does help with that. Make sure they're all feeling okay about it. The last one, having a plan in place for the students that don't do their homework. They normally don't. So when they come into your classroom and they didn't complete their notes or they don't have their notes in their notebook, then instead of them completing the tasks that are the fun tasks, the task cards and the stations and the trash get ball around the rooms, all those things that we as teachers want to get to, they don't get to them because they got to go and sit in the corner of the room or at their desk and complete the video on their own, complete the notes. That also works for students that just go through it really quickly just to get the notes. If they're not getting it, if they're not really understanding what you're doing in class in the lesson or in the activity, then they can go back and re-watch the video to make sure that they get it again. And that's one of the nice things about the flipped video. Some of my students, they need to hear something 700 times. They have that option to go back and listen to this small little section that they need. Or when they're going over a problem in class, they don't understand, they're like, oh, I remember one of these in her video, I can go back and look at it. So they become responsible for their own learning. They actually start to understand where can they go to get the answers instead of always asking me, starting to put that into place. And they can still hear it from my voice. It's not like their notes that they have to go back to. It's a little bit different. The other thing that you need to have in place is a way for students to complete their videos if they don't have internet at home. The middle schools and the high schools, I believe, just got their iPads, so anyone below that, it could be a little bit more challenging. But the students normally get here pretty early in the morning. They should be able to complete it before classes even start with our internet. They can also go to the local library. They can stay after school for tutorings if teachers allow. We have a study buddy program where they can come and get tutoring and things. So they have ways. You just need to make sure that the students knows the ways that they can get this beforehand instead of having to miss the activity because they don't have internet at home. So those are the main parts of how to flip your classroom. Making sure you have the right materials. Nothing is that fancy. You don't need crazy green screens. You don't need to know how to do any of that. You just need some basics. How to start your videos, making sure they're simple, making sure they're in a timely manner, and making sure that it's your face and your voice. And the third major thing is making sure that the students know what to do with all of this stuff. Know where to go, know how to take the notes down, where to take the notes down, and things like that. So the next thing we're going to do is talk about the different platforms that I have used within my classroom for showing my videos and actually flipping my classroom. And then we're actually going to create our own flipped video. So, very excited.